All right, so let's get into a little bit about the shows. So we're going to start with the shows that we watched, both of us watched, and then we're going to talk about ones that maybe each of us watched separately and give our opinion. So let's talk about the big one, the one that everyone, or I would say not everyone, I would say Apple really pushed, and that is the morning show. All right, so it's all. It basically is a background of how a news studio acts, and within the controversy of this Me Too movement, basically they're kind of using that as a storyline, I would say, to do the show. So first off, Tim, what were your thoughts? I mean, overall, I would say the production of it is really good. Like that, there's no doubt about it. There's a lot of bright, like when they're in the studio, the colors are extremely bright, you know. And meanwhile, when you're watching the rest of it, it's very dark, especially when you're in. One of the things I noticed, and this is one thing I noticed being a film major, is you go to like certain homes and there's different styles of lighting in the homes. And then I noticed specifically with Steve Carell's character, everything's always seems to be very dark, blue.
Oh, yeah, I was going to make that exact comment.
Yeah, it's very, very blue and dark. When you go to Reese Witherspoon, it's a little bit brighter in there, in her environment, but we really see her kind of traveling around a lot more. And you can see she's having her own issues with her own family. And then Jennifer Aniston has her own issues trying to deal with everything that's going on. So again, production-wise, it's definitely great.
Yeah, I mean, and you can, it's clear as day. Now we mention it as it is Apple's like kind of flagship for Apple TV Plus. However, it was the least watched TV show this weekend for launch.
How do you know that? Where do they get that info?
CNET.com. They already have that data up. So the number one watched
Where do they get that data from? I'm just very curious of how they know that.
Yeah.
They had to get surveys. There's no way that they just know Apple's viewing results.
Yeah, in the U.S., the morning show is the least rated show based on Nielsen TV ratings. And C was the number one.
Really?
Okay. That aside, the morning show, I enjoyed it. It's definitely going to entice me to watch it more just because I'm very excited about the star-studded cast of it. But Will, this was a shocking thing of it. We talk about how it's the flagship for Apple TV Plus. Guess how much per episode it cost to make?
I know, it was a lot. But you can tell me the number.
$15 million per episode, which is tied with the most of all time with Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones was $15 million per episode. So it is tied for the most expensive TV show per episode in TV history, which is kind of crazy for a show that just started. You know, you can make the justification that Game of Thrones was, it's well established, well known, had a huge fan base, why that was so expensive. But for a show that has just hit the, TV network in a sense, is already costing that much money.
So everyone has to think about this, like, where is the $15 million going? It's going to those people in that show.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, I mean,
they're being paid like $1 million. They have to alone being paid $1 million per episode.
More than that,
yeah,
probably.
The fact that it costs $15 million an episode, and these people are stealing money from Apple basically for this, and it's not even that well received of a show. That's not a good sign, even though they have 2 seasons already booked for it, basically.
Yeah, they do. They have 2 seasons booked. And maybe I'm the negative Nelly in the sense, but I am not believing Jennifer Aniston as her character as this news anchor. I just don't see her in that kind of role. And so for me, it's not believable.
Right.
Reese Witherspoon makes sense. Steve Carell, totally.
I actually thought Reese Witherspoon's the best one so far.
Oh yeah, she's a fantastic actress. Yeah,
so
she's fantastic.
I'm enjoying that, and I'm also enjoying Billy Crudup, who's the network guy.
Oh yeah, he's cool.
He's cool too. I do like him as well. So right now, I like those players. Yeah, but Jennifer Aniston's but Reese is definitely stealing it right now for me.
Oh,
and the episode was basically we watched the first one. So we didn't watch any other episode yet of 2 or 3. Now, by the way, there are 3 episodes pretty much of each show that's out right now.
Except Dickinson.
Except for Dickinson, yeah. I think
Dickinson's the whole season.
Oh, the whole season, okay.
Yeah.
It's like the first scene is all about news anchor who basically had an affair with, what they're saying it's an affair, but reality he's saying it's consensual, which you don't know yet, really the truth of that yet, which they're kind of holding off on.
Yep.
You don't know if it's real or it's not. And it's funny how I enjoyed it a little bit because I like the fact that he cared more about how wrong, how he was consensual, but he doesn't care about his wife. Like, you very rarely.
Yeah, she kind of just left.
She kind of just finally left, but she was like in the background, not even saying anything, and like you didn't see her at all, which I thought was like, wow, he just doesn't even give a crap about his wife at all. He just cares because he knows his career's over and that he believes he's been wronged. So, but the ending of it was really good with how they set up Reese Witherspoon's character, how she got to the morning show, and I'm looking forward to at least the next one. And so far, it hasn't bored me, but it's not like it's not like my favorite thing ever.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree with everything you said.
All right, so let's talk about the next show. Now, this is a show that I like the most. For All Mankind. Imagine a world where global space race never ended. What if it was actually the Russians that got to it first, or the Soviets in this case? So that's what this is all about. Is a alternate timeline of what happened with the moon landing. How many episodes did you watch?
I only watched the first episode as well.
Okay. So I watched actually 1 and 2 already on that one. This was definitely my favorite show so far.
Why so?
My favorite, well, one is I like alternate timelines. What if we didn't make it to the moon? When was the last time you saw a show that talked about that or, made a whole show about it? That hasn't been done. So I think it's a really interesting way of how they would have done it. How the president, I like too, they're using real news footage and clips, and they're just dubbing the overlay of it, which I think is really cool. I like that idea a lot. How they're just taking some news stuff that, the good thing about news is that it's royalty free. You can grab it and use it for anything. And how they're just redoing the voices and redoing everything on how President Nixon is reacting to this and, how NASA's reacting to it and how one particular astronaut who is the focal point of the show, which is Ed Baldwin. He's the main character in the show, and how he is saying how NASA sucks, but it's NASA's fault. And then there's a reporter that reports that and basically kicks him off of one of the Apollo missions, which is what his result of talking too much. But I think it's very interesting how an alternate timeline of the moon landing, how it would have gone if the Soviets got there first.
Yeah, and I like how it's so different because it's not a movie about Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong. You know what I mean?
Though. They are in it.
They're in it,
yes.
And they're very like a side character,
they're a background
almost,
character,
like a background character. Yeah, exactly. So I love that perception of it. It's like based because when I was originally watching it, like midway through the episode, I was like, oh wow, is this going to be about like the Apollo mission that never happened? You know what I mean? Like these two astronauts that were promised an Apollo 15 mission, and it never happened because they made it in Apollo 11. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so cool. And then it evidently is about those two characters. So this show, I'll talk about Dickinson in a second, but this show by far caught the most attention from me, just because I like space stuff. And this is such a different take on it. And I love history pieces and stuff like that. So I'll definitely be tuning into this one.
Yeah, I think this one was also the most highest rated that I've heard. I mean, unless you have some.
No, it's actually Dickinson.
Dickinson? I know this was definitely higher.
This was higher than the other ones, but Dickinson's at the top.
Yeah, this one I would definitely give a try. They have 3 episodes right now. They're basically, I watched the second episode already, and it's all about trying to get the person that's in charge of NASA right now out of his position because they believe he's the reason why they didn't make it to the space race, and they want to try to do something different. Like they want to go beyond what they're capable of doing. Like they're talking about putting a base station on the moon already, and with only one mission to the moon. And how Ed, who is the main character, they actually bring up a way. They try to get him to go against NASA, and they do a creative way of explaining his Apollo 10 mission and how he could have landed on the moon if he wanted to. And he explains it. And I think it's a really interesting way of getting, he's like, you feel bad for him in the first one because he did something stupid, but he redeems himself in the second one. Cool. And then you'll see the ending, the twist ending, which leads to the third episode, which you can maybe figure out based on just a screenshot of what you see online. So that's For All Mankind. Definitely that's the one I would check out from my experience on there. Now, you're going to talk about Dickinson because you actually watched an episode of that one. So talk about that one.
Yeah, so this is actually pretty cool. It's a little bit different than the two prior shows we talked about. It's based in the 18th century, and it's a TV show about Emily Dickinson, who's a famous poet and writer from that time period. And it's not like your typical like time period piece where it's like, oh yeah, it just goes with emotions, tells a story about Emily Dickinson.
It's more modern, right? They try
it's
to modernize it.
It's like has a modern twist and it's funny. They classified it as a period comedy, a black comedy, or like a historical drama fantasy, which I think it hits the nose on that idea of the historical drama fantasy because it just goes into these different what they think Emily Dickinson thought like because she really thought she was more intelligent than everybody around her. So it's just kind of funny. It's kind of poking fun at that she probably was the most intelligent person in the room, but because of the time period she lived in, she wasn't recognized as that. So I think it's hilarious. What's really funny is the casting. There's this character called Death, and that is played by Wiz Khalifa, the rapper.
Oh, that's great.
And then there's another character who I haven't reached yet because I've only watched the first episode, who's actually played by John Mulaney. And John Mulaney is my favorite comedian of all time. And so I think that's just hilarious that he's in this show, and I look forward to seeing him in an 18th century kind of setting. So that's going to be really funny. But no, this has been the highest rated TV show Apple TV Plus released this weekend. Everyone's loving it. It's kind of like that Dark Horse in a sense kind of show. You know, it's funny, it's quirky. It's only 35 minutes episodes. This was the only show that they released all 10 episodes for the entire season. So it's definitely worth a watch for somebody that is interested in kind of a dark comedy. It's Emily Dickinson is played by Haley Steinfeld, who I guess is an up and coming actress, and this was already signed for a second season prior to even being released. So it's definitely worth a watch.
All right, awesome. I'll have to check that one out. My individual show that I watched, well, believe it or not, was Snoopy in Space. So Snoopy in Space is basically he wants to become an astronaut, and Charlie Brown and the Peanuts gang take him to the International Space Station, and he's just trying to get to live his fantasy as a astronaut. So if you like the Peanuts has been kind of like something that not everyone loves. It's kind of like you like it, you don't like it kind of deal. I love Snoopy. I love Charlie Brown. In fact, every Thanksgiving, if I have the opportunity to watch Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, it's one of my favorite things to watch. It just brings me that time. So the episode is definitely child-oriented, no doubt about it. It's definitely a little bit harder for you. The first episode was kind of okay. I wasn't like overly impressed with it.
Yeah.
It's just there, I would say.
Okay.
Now the episodes are very short. They're only 9-10 minutes long, so they're very, very quick. So you
I like that.
Yeah, so I do like the fact that it's short. Really up to you guys if you think you can give it a try. I mean, if you like Charlie Brown, you may like it. If you like Snoopy, you may like it. First episode didn't really like make me laugh so much. It just made me kind of like, yeah, it passed the time, but it wasn't like I was bored. That's the best thing I could say about that one.
Cool.
I don't know if there's any reviews on that one. I don't know if you saw anything with Snoopy in Space.
Not with Snoopy, no.
Okay. And then the last one is the other big three, which is C. So C is everyone is blind in the world. In the opening of it, they basically say in the 21st century, a virus went out, and now we are centuries later. So we're definitely way past any type of civilization. There's an army which is called the Witchfinders, and they're attacking the village that what's his face is in. Jason Momoa's in.
Jason Momoa. Yeah.
Yep. And then they give birth to 2 kids, and then that's what they're going after. The Witchfinders want the kids and the wife for whatever reason they want them. I don't remember really why. Okay. But everyone's blind in this movie, and I like the way they do. Right away in the first episode, you're going to see a fight scene. And it's really interesting how they try to figure out where they're going and how they do it. They're doing everything based on sound. Their sound is very heightened. They could definitely hear, just like dogs, if they were blind, their senses really go up. This is kind of the same idea with them. You could definitely, like their eyes are all, like they're looking around, like they're definitely not being able to see anything. But right now I'm halfway through it. And I like the fight scene. That was really cool. I will say this. It definitely has that Game of Thrones vibe. That is probably the biggest comparison that it's getting.
Yeah, that's been what all the reviews have been about.
Yeah, so they're just comparing.
Is that it's very
to
similar to Game of Thrones.
And the only thing I haven't figured out is apparently down the line, these kids eventually are able to have sight. That's what I've read, or that's what it's supposed to be. I'm still trying to figure out in my head, how do they know that? They can't see them.
I don't know.
So and they're babies. So I don't know how they're able to figure that out. So right now, it so far is fine. It's basically a tribe versus a tribe kind of deal, with people blind trying to defend their territories, and that's what it's about right now in the first episode. I haven't gotten to the second or third one yet, but yeah, you said apparently a lot of people like the reviews of it.
Yeah. I mean, so the reviews are mixed. The reviews are kind of. It seems like they're just trying to make another Game of Thrones or satisfy the Game of Thrones fans. That weren't satisfied after that season.
Now, I never watched Game of Thrones, so I don't have HBO. So I never watched it. So for me, I'm going into this without knowing Game of Thrones.
Yeah. So for the other entire population that have watched Game of Thrones, we were disappointed on how the show ended. Well, I shouldn't speak for everybody, but I would say a majority of us were disappointed by the end of the show. So there's kind of framing this as the replacement for Game of Thrones. I don't see that happening. But yeah, I mean, it's got mixed. That's the biggest one that has mixed reviews, but is the most watched out of the launch weekend.
All right. So that's most of the episodes that are out now. Other things that are out right now is the Oprah Book Club. There is a episode already out for that. For me, I have absolutely no interest in that. It's not for me. It's definitely for people. It's definitely for older people.
Yeah.
We also have The Servant coming out.
That's gonna be cool.
Yeah, that one is coming out actually the weekend of Thanksgiving, and it's about a Philadelphia couple in mourning after an unspeakable tragedy creates a rift in their marriage and opens the door for a mysterious force to enter their room. So I was surprised how good Split was. Man, did he make a comeback with that movie. That was
awesome.
Good movie. And then the fact that it tied into one of his other films, it's one of my favorite endings of a film in a long time. It was so good.
Unbreakable?
Oh, no, Split.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, loved it. For people like my wife who didn't know about Unbreakable, to her it's like, wow, I don't get what's going on. But for someone who did watch it, that really got you. We have The Elephant Queen coming out, so that I believe is going to be a documentary on obviously elephants. Makes perfect sense.
What gave it away?
We also have Hala, which is a drama. It's basically a teen who struggles to balance being a suburban teenager in a traditional Muslim upbringing. That might be interesting to see that. Could piss some people off. And by the way, there's a lot of cursing in a lot of these as well. Oh, and then we also have The Ghostwriter as well. And that's a kid. That's when a ghost haunts a neighborhood bookstore and starts releasing fictional characters into the real world. And that is already out now. So that you can also
Sounds
watch.
like Goosebumps.
And that's what we have right now on Apple TV. So now that we've kind of talked about everything, let's talk about it. Is Apple TV right now worth $4.99 a month?
No.
No, it's not. I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, so there's two things that I have a complaint about. One is that they're episodic, so there will be new episodes released for each of their shows every Friday.
So I disagree. I'm disagreeing with you on that one, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, if I want to watch it,
right
if I want to continue to watch a show because that show is so good, I want to watch it and I want that instant gratification. I hate my favorite TV show that I watch is Mr. Robot, and I hate waiting for the next Sunday to find out what happens next. I just want that I just want to be able to watch it right now. So if the show like The Morning Show or For All Mankind really starts to interest me and intrigue me, I hate that I have to wait for an entire week to watch the next episode, and I'm paying for the service to watch it. You know what I mean? That's what's ridiculous about it.
See, for me, that's okay.
Sorry. My second complaint is I know the TV app came out with, I believe, iOS 10. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it was iOS 10. And it was that idea where it's that centrally located application that connects all your viewing and your, all the subscriptions that you have, and you can just go there, and then that kind of is your navigator to all your apps. to be honest, Apple TV Plus gets lost in the TV app.
Yeah.
I found it very hard to find all the original content, to search, to find which episodes I wanted to watch, because I just watch so much other TV, and it's just so overwhelming in the Apple TV app that it took me a while to actually find the Apple TV Plus content that wasn't the morning show. I mean, the morning show is just posted everywhere in that app, but all the other stuff I had to search for it. So I'm a little disappointed in that. I don't know if a lot of Apple users are going to have that kind of complaint, but that's just my two complaints that I have. I don't know about you. Well,
so I don't really have a complaint on the episodic. I actually do like having a build up to the next week. It's no different than what's on TV now. I mean, I'll be honest, Netflix kind of spoiled it by giving everybody everything right away. Yeah. And I kind of like waiting. Now, I will binge watch. I don't mind binge watching like the first 3 episodes of For All Mankind. I'm fine with that. But I also don't want to finish it so quickly either, because then I have nothing to wait for, especially if there's nothing else I want to watch on there. So I don't mind the episodic time frame at all. As far as finding them, yes, I will say it's a little hard to find them. The other thing I'm a little upset with is the downloading of them. Now, remember, you can download these to your devices. Right. So my experience with that has been kind of iffy. There's one episode of Dickinson that did download. Meanwhile, I tried to download C, and it never downloaded at all. In fact, the Apple TV app was freezing a lot every time I tried to open and close it.
I was getting that same problem.
You were too.
Which is why I reset my Apple TV, and now I didn't have a problem after that.
Okay, so I'm glad I'm not the only one that had that problem. But it's definitely something that took a while. Now it's finally downloaded to my machine. I actually just checked out, that did download finally to my device. But yeah, it is like when I'm on it right now, like it says watch now, movies, TV shows. It has my up next, so it does have that. Where my Snoopy in Space was. And there is a section for Discover Apple TV Plus, but you have to scroll down a little bit to get to it.
You have to scroll down, yeah.
Yeah, it's there. But I would expect that, you're right, to be like at the very, very top.
Or even just be like a section, be like Apple TV original content or whatnot.
Yeah, right now. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not the easiest way to find them yet, and I'm hoping that maybe they'll fix that. Otherwise, as far as the complaints go, I think the app is a little buggy. That's for sure, and it's a little bit harder. It's a little hard to find the content you're looking for. I mean, you could just do a search, honestly, but I would want to be able to press that right away and get to it.
Yeah, I mean, like especially when they come out with more content, like Amazon Video does so well is that they obviously brand, and Netflix does it too. They obviously brand their thumbnails with this is an Amazon Video original, blah blah blah.
Exactly.
I didn't really see that in the Apple TV app.
No, it's not. It's not at all. And that's, again, maybe something they could do. The other thing they are doing is they are going to come out with a film, which I'm looking forward to as well. I think it's with Samuel Jackson.
Oh, like a full-length movie?
Yeah, and that's going to be that is going to be in the movie theater, but I think Apple's producing it, and then I'm sure it'll go right up to the Apple TV Plus. So they're also going to be doing a couple films as well. So Sweet. Right now with the service, it's definitely not worth $4.99. Definitely, you just buy an Apple TV. It's $169, and you get a whole year of Apple TV Plus. So that's the cheapest product you can buy right now that would get you that. So it's a no-brainer to at least get one Apple product. At least you get the this for 1 year for free, or take advantage of the education, or if you really are enjoying the content, then the $4.99 might be worth it for you. But I don't think it is.